Amy, in January of 1959, 10 Russian hikers set out to hike through the Ural Mountains. They were mostly students and from Ural Polytechnica. It's called
Oh,
something else now.
oh, okay.
They were, so there's hiking certifications. So in Russia at this time, they were all like under like group 2 or something for the hiking
Mm-hmm.
certification, and they wanted to become threes.
Okay.
So this trek was gonna certify them as threes. Okay. So
Okay.
they set out. It's kind of a hike. They also did like kind of cross country skiing through it because it's snow. It's cold there in the Ural Mountains in
Yeah.
January and February.
Yeah.
10 set out. One left early because he was ill. It originally was 8 men, 2 women. One he left early. Then the weather started getting a little, it was bad. It was not. I think they were a little off track, but not too bad. These are experienced hikers. They're going through the mountains. I mean, 2 to 3 is like, these are survivalists. This is 1959 in the high mountains in the snow. They are, they're 1959. There's no Gore-Tex. There's no, and this is
Yes.
this is the Soviet Union too, okay? You
Yeah.
know, the think bread lines. Yeah, that kind of thing.
Bread lines.
So I don't know, down jackets and leather shoes. I mean, it's cold, but they're going.
Mm-hmm.
They were going to traverse 300 kilometers, which is 190 miles. That would get them to grade 3. So they had this all mapped out. Now, the leader of this expedition is Igor Dyatlov. They had a book, they had a route, they had a book. Like I said, these are all experienced hikers. Sometime after January 31st, so like I said, I think they were a little off track, but not bad. The weather and the visibility was pretty low. So they set up their tent on the night of January 31st. And sometime between the 1st and the 2nd of February, all 9 passed away.
It's still us, Mo and Amy from the Flippin' Fantastic podcast. This is just our behind the scenes where we talk about everything and anything except reselling. Make sure you subscribe and take a listen. Bye.
Now, the mystery is what exactly happened.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't found for a while after they died. There's a lot of different theories. Now, Russia has closed this case officially in like 2020, but the theories are still out there, and there's still a lot of questions as to what happened to the people on the Dyatlov Pass.
Yeah. It's definitely one that I have lots of thoughts about. Like you just hear about it and all the theories are like all over the place too. So it'll be
Hmm.
definitely an
Yeah. The
interesting
little deep dive.
deep dive. That's it. A little deep
Yeah.
dive into the what do they call
Yeah.
it? The Dyatlov Pass incident. So
Yep.
I'm excited to talk about it. It's one of the first, I think, like, what would you call this? Just a mystery, I guess, like a mystery incident, you know? Like, it's
Yeah.
not like a paranormal well, I guess theories are it could be paranormal,
There's
right?
theories, but yeah, there's
Mhm,
theories anything from, you know, murder, natural disaster, paranormal,
mhm.
so
Yeah,
they're all over the place. Like I said, they officially closed the books on this in 20, I think it was 2020.
I think so too,
Russia
yeah.
did, but there's still a lot of questions out there. So let's first before we kind of deep dive, I'm just going to show because a lot of people, if you don't know where the Ural Mountains are, they are the mountain range that geographically on a map separates Europe from Asia.
Okay.
So there's the Ural Mountains there. I got to point this way. If you look east
Yeah.
of Moscow, they that's where the range is, so you kind of know there's Europe over there, but they are what divides on a map Europe from Asia.
And
So
it looks like it
um,
goes all the way into, like, the Arctic Circle. Like, I'm assuming that's the Arctic Circle, the dash lines, right?
yeah, the red line.
Oh,
Mhm.
that's red? Oh, okay, yeah. I
Is
mean,
that what you were talking about? That red line?
I guess, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's, jeez. Is that yeah, I don't know. That's that's gotta be pretty cold, not only being north, but being yeah, it's not only are you high in elevation on the mountains and you're
Yes.
super far north, like, that's a huge undertaking. Yeah.
Yes. So we do know stuff that happened along the way. There are journal entries. There's a group journal, and then
Mhm,
I think some of them kept journals. They were, and the last group journal entry is kind of like there's nothing really in it. It's just like, hey, we're gonna put our tent up here
mhm.
and whatnot. So there wasn't really any clues. Now the all the speculation and theories come for what happened when they found them. They found the diaries. They found cameras. So there was a few there's some pictures on the cameras that some theories came.
What was that thing called? It was almost like a stove, like a potbelly stove or something. Remember they had one of those with them too?
Yes.
Yeah, but what were you gonna say about the
Yeah, because
pictures?
they had a big tent, they all were in the tent, they had a stove, they had, yeah, I mean, you think about what you have now when you go camping, like, there's all different kinds of camping gear if you're not a camper. There's summer sleeping bags, there's winter sleeping bags, there's different kinds of tents. I mean, like that really expensive tent you sold,
Oh, yeah.
where
Could've been.
it's like one person, but they're not even in. I'm assuming their tent was just one of those big canvas tents, that you set up. It's not what we have today.
Well,
I don't know.
didn't some of the pictures show, like, the tents? Weren't
Yeah,
they?
I do
Because they
have.
were cut, right? They were cut from the inside out.
Yes. So, yeah, okay, so let's talk about that. Yes. So, well, first, you had sent me this one. This was off one of their cameras.
Which was awesome that they were taking pictures too, so we could
Yeah, most of them had cameras. They had personal pictures that they found and got to, that the people that found them, they got developed. So this is just some of them, again,
Mhm.
1959. And remember, Soviet USSR, this is Soviet Russia. So not even, who knows what they had,
Yeah.
you know? I mean, there wasn't a lot available in terms of warmth, probably like down coats and layers, wool, probably all wearing wool. But
True, yeah.
they did hike and like, ski. You can see they had poles and there is
It
I
doesn't
think
look like a lot of gear for 198 miles or whatever that was.
190 miles. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. I
Like,
mean,
that's I mean, I guess that's what like, that I would assume that had to have been all food in those packs for that long of a trip.
prob probably.
Yeah. So,
Um,
that's,
that's my
unless
guess.
there's yeah. So,
I don't
they
remember them saying anything about hunting or anything, but
yeah, I
yeah.
don't they weren't even there long enough to hunt. Yeah, that one guy, I can't imagine what that one like, there was 10 and then only 9 ended up hiking because the one guy didn't he have something like a problem with his knee or something? Can't remember the
Yeah,
specifics of it.
he had some like, yeah, I forget exactly what, but he decided he wasn't going to be able to do it, so he
Yeah.
left early on.
Like,
Um,
on day
I
1,
don't
I
even
think,
know if they
right?
were.
Wasn't it, like, day 1? Like, they went to, like, a certain
Yeah,
like, first checkpoint, and then I think he was like, "I can't go," if I remember that
right, right.
correctly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's like, I can't do this.
Imagine
So
being him.
so he left. So it was only the 9 of them. Here's another picture. I meant to show this one. So somebody took, I don't remember who, but
Yeah.
you can see, and I don't even like they have, I don't know what would you call them? I mean, because they don't have like knee-high boots on, but they have something. Do you see up their
Oh,
calves? Like I guess
maybe
something
that's the
wraps around their calves.
maybe that's
Hmm?
the ski boot, or whatever you were using.
Yeah, I don't know. It
Hmm.
looks like
Like a
it
gator,
attaches to your shoe. Yeah, like that.
like
Yeah,
a
that's what I
gator.
want to. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that could
But
be.
you can see, I
Helps with
mean, it's
moisture.
pretty. I mean, this is an old photo. It's black and white, but it is pretty low visibility.
Yeah. Maybe that's when they got
So
off course too. They
yeah,
didn't
I
that
don't
was
know.
part of it. They got off course from their trail that they were
Yeah,
supposed to be following?
right. Yeah, because of the weather. I don't think they were. Again, they weren't like so far off that they didn't know where. Like that wasn't that big of an issue. I don't think. Because
Yeah.
they kind of knew where they were. Like I said, their experience. So, like, back, this is also, let's talk about this. This is before.
Yeah.
So, these guys, not only are you an experienced, skier here, skis, hiking, altitude, you can survive the altitude, but they are also, orienteering is a big part of this.
Mhm.
So they know where they
Yeah.
are. I think they knew that they weren't quite on the right track, but they did know where.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and I think if I'm correct, I think the diaries did like, some of it noted that they were a little off track, but they were going to they didn't stop where their last stop on the 31st wasn't where they wanted to be, but
Mhm.
it's where they kind of were forced to because of, the situation.
Yeah. And then didn't they know that they were like, I guess I should say, weren't there checkpoints that they had to like stop at so people knew that they were like okay and they just didn't make it to like one of the checkpoints and that's how they knew that they
Right.
were missing, I guess, because they didn't check
Right.
in?
So they were going to telegram at at one point. Like so I guess they were part of like a sports club, I guess, what did you call it?
Mhm.
And they were supposed Dyatlov was supposed to telegram their sports club when they got to a certain point. It was supposed to happen no later than February 12th. Now, this is with expected delays. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like this
Yeah.
kind of trek, you're not necessarily going to be on time. Like you plan it out. Like I want to be here by this day, I want to be here by that day, but it doesn't really work out. And they know that, but they have checks, you
Mhm.
should hear from us by the 12th of February. And they did not hear by the 12th. And then by the 20th is when their relatives started demanding somebody go look for them. So they
Right.
were like, so that was even, like another
Further.
week later.
Right.
Right.
Wow.
So that's when the military started to look, or the police, whatever, the KGB, I don't know. They had planes and helicopters kind of looking, and
Yeah.
on the 26th of February, so 26, so their deaths are put somewhere between the 1st and the 2nd of February. Last journal entry is the 31st of January, and on the 26th is when they found their tent. That's a long time,
It sure
That's a
is.
long time.
So if their
And
last journal entry was the 31st, they started on what day? Didn't they start on the
I want
28th
to say the
something?
23rd, I think.
23rd.
Does that
Huh.
I'm looking
But
at my notes and
they just weren't even out there very long, you know?
well, maybe they started on but I'm looking, hold on.
January 27th, it says. January 27th, they started.
Yeah, okay.
So
I think they had
that's
to
only
take
3
they had to
days.
take a train and stuff to where they were going, so they might have
Oh, okay.
left. The 23rd sticks in my head. That might have been
Uh-huh.
like the day they took the train or something.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so they
So
were, I
3
mean,
3.5 days into their trip, something
mhm.
happened. Something happened, which is
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah.
They so they started looking for them. So the 26th they found their tent. They found the first two and they started searching. They started searching like the forest edge and stuff. They found two bodies. Two of the bodies. Well, first of all, let's talk about what they found. So they found their tent and it appeared to have been cut from the inside, like
Yeah.
somebody's trying to get out. Okay,
Yeah.
that's weird. All right.
And their clothes, do you remember their clothes were all, like, folded really nice in piles, like, in the corner of their tents and stuff too,
Right.
which
Mhm.
is, like It just makes me think that, was it nighttime? Because, kind of like you take off your layers to go to sleep, and then
Right.
you make them
Mhm.
nice and neat in the corner. So I was just like,
Right.
oh, it seems so, that's,
They found yeah, so they found that. They found 9 sets of footprints, there's 9 of them,
hmm
barefoot or socks. 9 sets of footprints left by people wearing only socks or a single shoe or barefoot. So there was, like,
hmm
kind of a difference, like, nobody seemed to be dressed.
And
Um,
these were footprints leaving the tent area.
leaving the tent area. Yep.
Mm, yeah.
And then after about 500 meters, they were covered with snow, the footprints, and they found 2 bodies, shoeless and dressed only in underwear.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, that's like another thing that's like, oh, that could it have been nighttime? Because, if you're getting in your sleeping bag and stuff, maybe
right.
your sleeping bag is warm. Like
Mhm.
I know my sleeping bag is really warm that I don't have to like dress up. I can dress
Right.
down in my sleeping bag.
What right, and you don't wanna wear like, they wouldn't wanna wear that if they had, like, a stove and stuff because if and they're all in the same tent for warmth, and, it's keeping all the heat in. You don't wanna
Mhm.
sweat because then you're wet,
Right. Yeah.
so you,
Yeah.
yeah, so you take that
And
off. They found the 2 bodies,
well,
shoeless and in
wait.
their underwear, and
Do,
one
do,
seemed to have looked like he
oh,
had climbed a tree at one point.
oh yeah.
Why? Why?
Right.
Getting away for something, looking for something? That was the question.
And then remember the footsteps? They talked about the footsteps. The gait of the footsteps was as if they weren't running. Like there wasn't a huge space in between their footprints.
Right.
It
Uh-huh.
was just
Yeah.
like a normal gait, like as if you were just strolling. I thought that was odd too. So it wasn't
Yes.
like a
Uh-huh.
panic. Because you can tell, footprints if, there's like a little kid running in the sand with the footprint left, than just somebody strolling on the sand.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Mhm.
So it's almost like a single file line of footprints to the forest, you know?
Right.
The tree where they found that fire, it looked like they said like they had tried to climb the tree, or like an animal might have like tried to like break the branches.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the speculation.
Mhm.
Were they climbing a tree to get away from something? Were they climbing a tree to look for something? Get high up and look,
Yeah.
you know? And there was also the remains of a small fire. Like they set a fire, to keep warm there. Like
Uh-huh. Which
they
seems odd too, because it was only 500, would you say 500 feet from their tent?
mhm.
Yeah. So that's not very far to like, oh, let's leave our tent where we had a stove, like a wood stove, or not a wood stove, but like a little, from what I remember, it was like a little potbelly stove type thing, like a
Yes. Uh-huh.
camping
Like
stove.
some sort of little whatever camps kind of stove they had in the
Mm.
in
Yeah.
1959 in Soviet Russia.
Yeah.
So in 1985, when I was in 8th grade, I went to Russia. We went to Moscow and we went to St. Petersburg, which was at the time, because it was still Soviet, it was Leningrad. And I mean, they
What?
were probably still dressed like it was the 60s,
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah, I mean,
It was all drab, like drab colors and stuff like that. But in my
yeah,
mind,
and
that's
just yeah, I mean, they didn't have like they were not fashionable. You didn't have, I mean, there wasn't fast fashion back then anyway,
yeah.
really, but it wasn't,
Mhm. Yeah.
you know. I was in 8th grade, we were wearing Forenza from the Limited, neon
Yeah.
colors. There wasn't that over there.
Right.
Let's just say that.
Yeah, true, true.
It still looked like it was 1959. But anyway, so I think of that in my head and I'm just like, 20 years before that, what was it like?
Yeah, 30.
So
Yeah,
then they found so that near the tree and near the edge of they found those 2 and then they found 3 more, one of which was Dyatlov. They speculated that from their poses of where they died, that they're trying to go back toward the tent. I mean,
Mhm.
again, they're only like 500 feet away. Like it's right there.
Yeah.
The other 4, they found it took more than 2 months to find, and they were found on May 4th under
Oh,
4 meters of snow in a ravine
In the den.
75 meters further into the woods from the
Yeah.
pine tree that they think was climbed up,
Oh.
So they were even farther in the woods.
Yeah.
And there were signs that some clothing of those who had died first had been removed for use by the others. So I don't.
Mhm.
Okay, let's talk about this before we get into the theories. These are not kids going on a walk. These are experienced hikers. Like, so they were whatever group 2, group 3 is like one of the highest ones. I mean, you have to travel almost 200 miles to get this. They're
Yeah.
orienteers. I mean, these are kids that can survive out
Mhm.
in this. This
Yeah.
isn't a whim. This isn't, a bunch of 20 somethings doing something dumb. This was
Yeah.
planned out. This was, they knew what they're doing, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And for them to seemingly run around without their clothes on, like, what made them do that? Now, the prevailing theory is that when you are at end stages of hypothermia, you feel hot and
Yeah.
people take their clothes off.
Yeah.
But it appears that they ran without their clothes in the first place. Like, I don't know that were they hypothermic in the tent? Like, that doesn't add up to me. Do you know what I
Right.
mean?
Oh yeah. I agree.
It's like they were to me, what are they hiding from? Like, why did they run away?
Yeah. But yeah, I know. I think that there's so many things. But these people, the last survivors that were found like in
Mhm.
that little ravine that they call, I think they
Yeah.
call it like Dyatlov's den, because of
Yes. Mhm.
and the most of the people, they like the autopsy or whoever did it, like the medical examiner at the time, said that 6 of them died from hypothermia, but the
Mhm.
other 2 of them, they said, was just from chest trauma, and then one of
Right.
them was from a skull fracture. So that just
Where'd
shows you
that
right
come
there.
from?
It wasn't all hypothermia, you know?
Right. And
Yeah, and
what caused that?
exactly. Yeah, and it was the first ones that were found by the tree where the little fire was, those were all hypothermic people. But the ones found by
Mhm.
that in that den, it was like they had soft tissue removed. Like some of them were missing their eyes, or I think one of them was like missing their eyes, their lips, one of their tongues was gone. And then they had trauma to
Right.
their chest. Some of them had like some broken ribs and stuff like that. So there was something happening
Right.
to those individuals. And they were,
Let
like
me
you said, they're wearing different clothes. Some were wearing, like some of the women were wearing like the men's clothes and stuff like that, which I don't think is
Mhm.
like a telltale sign of anything, because if somebody passes away, if like one of their people passes away, they're obviously going to take their clothes to kind of help them
Right.
stay warm. So I don't feel
Right.
that that's
Uh-huh.
like a red herring or anything. Like it's just kind of like, well, that's what you would do. You would take their mittens and clothes and stuff to stay warm. But all that trauma to their body and eyeballs missing, where'd their eyeballs go? Like there's something that
Right.
happened in
So
that.
here's one of the pictures.
Oh.
I forget who that was, but you can see that's his camera around his neck.
Oh, is it? Oh, I don't remember this
Yeah.
picture. Wow.
Yeah.
If you're just listening to it, it's just a mummified corpse,
Mhm.
but his eyes are blackened, like they're gone. Doesn't it look
Right.
like they're just completely gone? Wow.
Now, the theory here and what they say is that, and it could be animals ate them, or certain, like, organisms come around and eat some of that softer stuff
Uh-huh.
first.
Yeah. But your tongue?
Maybe.
With your tongue inside your
I don't know.
mouth.
Yeah, I don't know.
Wow. Wow. That's yeah, that's a lot.
So here's what Russia says happened. They say that there was a avalanche,
Okay.
that it was middle of the night, they got up, they and ran in different directions, whatever.
Yeah.
uh,
But then you said the word
and that
ran.
they
Run. You said ran. The
Right.
footprints
Well,
don't
wouldn't you run
support
if there
that.
was an avalanche coming?
Oh, no, I would
You would, right?
run, but those footprints don't support that, you know? The running part.
Right. Mhm.
Yeah. But, yeah, so I don't know. They you think they're covering up something by saying all this?
So here's what happened. Here's what the journalists reporting on the available parts of the inquest files claim that it states. 6 of the group members died of hypothermia and 3 of fatal injuries. So that was the chest and the head
Mhm.
injuries. No indications of other people nearby. Tent had been ripped apart from within. Victims died 6 to 8 hours after their last meal.
Okay. In the morning?
Traces what I'm assuming night. I don't know.
Yeah.
They were camping for the night, so I'm assuming it's night, right?
Mhm.
Traces from the camp showed that all group members left the campsite of their own accord on foot. There were some levels of radiation were found on their
Oh, yes.
clothing.
Yes.
Now, there was the theory that the Masi people, they're like kind of the indigenous people of the mountain area there,
Mhm.
could have killed them or
But
attacked them or something,
uh-huh.
but they dismissed that. They said that the injuries were even worse than like a human could, just like hitting somebody, I guess. Those
Okay.
the blows, the people that had the
Mhm.
blows.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
and
but yeah,
they said that that tribe was like they were, like, peaceful people too. They weren't
yeah, I don't think
they
they're
that it would
known
have been,
for
like, abnormal.
attacking. Yeah,
Yeah.
right? I don't think they're known for attacking people.
Yeah. That's
So
about the radiation. That's not coming from an avalanche. You're like, the radiation isn't coming from an avalanche. There's just no way. It's like a uranium fall of snow?
oh, the avalanche theory. Now, the evidence taken at the time, they didn't state that it looked like an avalanche. Okay.
Mhm.
It didn't seem like one. Now,
Yeah.
later they say they think it was an avalanche because that's what Russia has decided this was. This was an avalanche. You know, they left the tent and they couldn't find their way back.
Uh-huh.
Okay. 500 feet.
Yeah.
They died 6 to 8 hours afterward. You
Yeah.
can't, there was evidence of a small fire. The people that were closest,
True.
like you would think, like if it calmed down, they could kind of find their way back. I don't know,
Yeah.
because and Dyatlov and 2 other guys looked like they were what they were where they found them said looked like they were going back toward the tent.
Uh-huh.
So, or appeared like the way they died, it appeared they were heading back toward the tent.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if I buy that. I mean, I know in blizzard conditions you can get lost very easily.
Oh, yeah.
So, if there
Totally.
was, you know, maybe. So that could be, that could be the problem. It could have been blizzard conditions. I don't know you can even if they can even have that data from the mountains in 1959 in Soviet Russia. Okay.
Right. I'm
Um,
sure I mean, the only thing about the avalanche that makes sense to me would be kind of like, them cutting the tent from the inside out, because if the snow was coming and it completely covered your tent, you're clearly not
right.
gonna unzip your tent to get out, you're just gonna need to get
Yeah.
out. So, the cutting of the tent and then kind of, like, scooping snow away to get out, I could see
Yeah.
that part, I could see that. But the
Right.
but the
Mhm.
but the feet print and stuff, like, not running away, just makes me think that it's not an avalanche, you know? You know?
Right.
Yeah.
It's yeah, I don't know. Like,
Mhm.
it's almost like although I don't know why you would cut open your tent like that.
What? During an
But
avalanche?
I don't think it had zippers. It was probably all tied.
Oh, true. You're right, you're right. But I guess
Um,
if you're being crushed, because if an avalanche is coming, you're basically being crushed by snow.
right.
So you just
Right.
need to get out, like, just get out however you can. But yeah. But there were, like, military activity. What about the military activity that was going on that night?
So there is on did I get that one? Hold on, let me see. I don't know if I didn't I didn't get that one. There is a picture on one of the
Mhm.
cameras that looks like maybe an airplane in the air. So I didn't get that one. So
Oh,
let's
okay.
look at some of the pictures. So I did get these two. Now this one's the Sasquatch or Yeti theory.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Hang on. All right, so the Sasquatch slash Yeti theory. This picture on one of the cameras, you know, it's your peeping around the tree. Now,
Yeah.
they really think it's just one of the hikers, maybe like going using
Coming back for the bathroom.
the the facilities behind a tree,
True.
probably, and
Yeah.
not Sasquatch attacking them. But
Yeah.
that was a theory for a while because it does, it it's reminiscent of one of those Sasquatch peeking around a tree, blurry
Yeah.
blur squatch.
But
But
wouldn't it be white? Aren't those like the abominable snowmen are white, the Yetis and stuff? Like he's not
well,
even
yeah,
white. They're in the Ural
um,
Mountains. You need some camouflage. Like,
right,
natural fur
exactly.
camouflage.
And so it's most likely just one of them, with their coat and everything on. They just went to use the tree facility.
Yeah.
So that one was
Debunked.
debunked. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is just some weird light that was on one of their cameras.
That looks like a
I don't
pterodactyl,
know.
doesn't it? Kinda look like a pterodactyl
Yeah, it
flying at
does,
you?
right?
Wait a minute, Mo. What if
The
it's the
orb.
moth what if it's the Mothman? He
Oh,
was in the
look, I
Ural
wore my Mothman.
Mountains. Oh, you are?
Look, I wore my. There's a few pictures of lights like this, orbs, okay? We would call them
Uh-huh.
in the paranormal.
Okay.
And there's a picture that looks like an airplane flying. So
Oh.
that brings about maybe it's military,
Uh-huh.
KGB. They ran across something that they shouldn't. Something. This is height of Cold War, right?
Right.
1959. They ran into something that they shouldn't have seen, you
Mhm.
know, and that's what happened to them. They were taken
Yeah.
care of. So military, was it some sort of secret Soviet testing happening that they came across in their
Mhm.
slight
Mhm.
deviation from the path they should have been taking?
Yeah.
Um,
Which,
I don't
of
know,
course, they would wanna cover that up, you know,
right,
with an avalanche story.
right. Here's
Mhm.
the thing about orbs: dust, snow, any kind of water, and flash photography. You're going to get something like this. It's going to
Oh, okay.
reflect off of it and come back. This isn't, it looks like some grass. I don't know what this is. Trees. I don't know what it is. So,
Yeah. But if all those other pictures had snow, so I wonder well, I guess it wasn't, like, super deep in those pictures, but yeah, it could be. Maybe they were taking was that one of the last photos in their, camera reel,
yeah,
or was it
yeah.
the last? Yeah.
I don't know whose camera reel it was from, but
Mhm.
it was one of the last ones.
I remember them saying something about, like, they thought it could have been some, like, high winds or something too that did it, all of it. What do they call it? Like, catabatic catabatic winds? I don't know, but
Uh,
causing them to, like, get disoriented and panic, and I don't know why that
yeah.
would make you flee your tent, but I don't buy that either, you
Again,
know?
I don't buy it. There's 9 of them there. They are all
Mhm.
experienced hikers. They've, no doubt have hiked in this weather and this terrain before to get to their category 2, to move to
Mhm.
category 3.
Yeah,
So it's not I don't see why would all 9 freak
exactly.
out at the same time? I mean,
Mhm.
you might freak out for a minute. You know how people are. Some people completely freak out, but then there's usually, somebody is probably going to come to their senses and like calm everybody down,
Yeah. It's
gather everybody up, like, take charge. It's not like 1 or 2 people. There was 9 people. I
Mhm.
don't see it, whereas somebody doesn't, talk everybody down, calm you calm a couple people down. I don't know how.
Yeah.
I get in the moment panic if there was an avalanche or something.
Mhm. But
They're
what were
not
it's
that
like
far from each other.
yeah,
3 of
yeah,
them are 500 feet away, or two of them are 500 feet away, and then Dyatlov and two other guys are not that much further away. Like, they can't hear each other.
Right.
I mean, we're talking feet, we're talking yards, we're not talking miles.
Yeah. And the fact that, that they left, it said they started on the 27th, and you said their last journal entry was the 31st. So
Yeah.
they weren't like dying from starvation either. Because you can go
No,
weeks without eating. So it wasn't any part
no,
of this like I
like you
have no
said,
energy and you
no,
know.
they died 6 to 8
Oh,
hours when they
that's
did the
right.
autopsy, 6 to 8 hours, so that means that there was still food in their stomach.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot you said that. Yeah. Yeah. So, oh, that
You
was
know,
why I
depending
thought.
depending on what you eat,
Mhm.
so if they had some meat in there, that takes
Yeah.
longer in your
Yeah.
stomach, and so they they had just
Mhm.
eaten. That's not long at all, so nobody
Yeah.
starved to death. I mean, you can become dehydrated in the snow because you just don't get enough water, but
Yeah.
couple days, you can last. Again, these
They
are
had yeah, they were
these aren't
experienced,
people out here on a whim.
right.
Like, they
And they had a
know
fire,
some
so
basic survival skills.
they had that little fire,
Yes.
so they're making water, to drink.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So, yeah.
Right.
It's
Plus, it wasn't that long to die of dehydration. I mean, what is it,
yeah,
like 3 days?
3 without
6 to
water.
8 hours after they
Mhm.
ate is when they died? Like, it's
It's
crazy.
not.
I don't
That's
know.
a little different. I think snow would be different because you can suck on snow and melt it. It's
Right.
not like
I
being
guess
in the ocean, you can't
right,
have
and
that any of
they
that
weren't it
water.
wasn't right, it wasn't that long either because they do say you can because you're not getting as enough as what you can become dehydrated because you're not actually drinking as much as you think you are
Yeah.
in the snow if you're
Mhm.
just drinking snow melt,
Yeah.
but it
But not
wasn't
in
that
3 days.
long.
Yeah, not in 3
No,
days, 4 days.
it wasn't that
Yeah,
long. I don't understand. I
I
don't
know.
understand.
That's why
Um,
it's a mystery. Even though it's closed, it's
it's
not. I think
closed,
it's just
right?
closed for the books, but it's still one of the the mysteries that everybody talks about because
Right.
hopefully
So,
we get there.
they said it was an avalanche. Oh, so the other theory is like maybe UFO activity because the lights. Again,
Mhm.
you can't base anything on lights in a picture because like that could be a drop of water that they snapped a picture and a drop of snow came and reflected off and it looks like this
Changed it.
giant
Yeah,
light in your thing.
true.
But the contradictory evidence to the avalanche is at the time when they found them, there was no obvious signs of an avalanche. The bodies that they found were covered in a shallow layer of snow that they found within the
Mhm.
month, not the ones they found in May, the ones they
Mhm.
found in February.
Gotcha.
Uh, if they're saying that if it was an avalanche, it should have swept, that kind of avalanche to like do that, like it should have like swept stuff away and people,
Yeah.
and they didn't see that. And there was no damage to because I guess they were right near the tree line. There
Mhm.
was no damage to the tree line.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't make sense. I mean, yeah, it doesn't make sense at all. And I thought I remember hearing that they said that they had talked to like the locals, which might have been those Mansi
The
Indians. They
Massey,
said that
yeah,
there was no avalanches at that time either. Because,
right, right,
obviously they're in
uh-huh,
tune to the land and stuff like that. So,
right.
yeah, it was
They
aliens, Mo.
said so. No, yes, aliens. They don't. So some people say even if there was an avalanche in the area where they placed the tent, the avalanche wouldn't have hit it.
Oh,
Like
okay.
they, some people are saying that he put they where they set up, which kind of makes sense if they're experienced, they know where something could happen.
Uh-huh.
So they didn't like where the snow because of like the elevation and the slopes it
Mhm.
wouldn't have hit that 10, it would have hit another place where
Right.
you know, it says, oh, okay. Dyatlov was an experienced skier, and the older Zolotarov, he was studying for his master's certificate in ski instruction and mountain hiking. I mean, like I said, these are experienced guys. And they said people are adamant that neither of these two would have put their tent where there could potentially be an avalanche. Like they wouldn't
Right.
have set up the tent there. Footprint patterns leading away from the tent were inconsistent with someone running in a panic, like you said. They
Mhm.
weren't running. They were consistent with somebody walking. So did somebody make them go? Like that's the other theory, like the KGB or an alien theory. Like
Mm.
get out and go over there, you know? And
Yeah.
um
It's all
so
it's
yeah,
all
so
weird.
it's very strange. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. I know. I wanna know what, other people think, like what theories they've heard or what theory they believe, because it's definitely an interesting story. Like, every time I, yeah, like, see, like, a little clip on it, I always watch to see if there's anything
Oh
new
yeah.
or, like, other, like, pictures that were, like, found or
Right.
something like that. Because it's really interesting just that it's solved but not solved
Yeah.
and just leaves more
Yeah. I
questions
mean
than
yeah,
answers.
like you said, they closed it, but there's still a lot of questions. And you're never
Mhm.
gonna know because
Yeah. It was 20 what, 60, almost 70 years ago, you
yeah.
know?
Mhm.
So it'll be
Yep.
one of that we'll never know the, true answer to it, but
So what do you
mhm,
guys think? Do you think avalanche like they say? Do you think uh
UFOs. It's the
UFOs?
radiation. It's a UFO. Or
Yeti?
it's the UFO or the military with the
Mm,
radiation, you
yeah,
know?
yeah. Well, that's what that yeah. There is, if you ever want to travel to the Ural Mountains area region,
Uh-huh.
they have a nice little monument to the 9 that passed near where I guess they found them.
Oh, okay.
I guess like the tree line there.
Huh.
I
Yeah.
just it'll always be a question to me because there's too many weird things about such experienced outdoors people for
Mhm.
me.
Yeah, I
That's how I
agree.
feel.
Yep, I agree. So let us know, guys, what you think, and if you had heard of this Dyatlov Pass. Some people have heard of it, and there's other people that are like, I have no idea what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
There was a lot of stuff back in the early, 2020, I guess, several years back when they closed the case. There was a lot of talk about it, but some people may not have heard of it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, it was a plane. It was really close and low.
The government.
So thanks for coming, guys, and listening to us talk about Dyatlov Pass. And don't forget to stay sassy, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Thanks so much for watching and check out more of our videos right here. Stay sassy.